So I've noticed something. Over the last few years, people have been rather quickly upping their security game, watching their driveways, protecting their front doors and back gardens, and there's two main reasons for this. In 2020, a burglary took place every 30 seconds. And number two, homes without a security system are 300% more likely to get broken into. Alex, please give us the solution that's number one, inexpensive, number two, wire-free, and number three, easy to set up. You're making this difficult, but I think we have the solution. This is the EZVIZ BC1, probably the most popular security system on Amazon right now, with 4.4 out of 5 stars, and a whopping 71% of those reviews are actually 5 stars. If you don't want to buy it on Amazon though, it's also available at Currys and Maplin. I'll drop all the links for you guys below. But before you go right ahead and buy it, you should probably stick around for this video because as usual, we're going to put it through our standard TechFlow tests. So if you're hungry, let's get after it. Okay, so let's talk about what you get in the box. You get on the 2 camera kit, obviously 2 of these cameras. They're, like I said, really well built, they're kind of heavy. And then you also get what I'm gonna call the base station right here. We'll go over that in a second. And you also get 2 separate style of mount, one of which I'm going to call the magnet mount. You basically just screw up this metal ball to the wall, which is just a huge heavy duty magnet as to which the cameras can, well, stick to, and then you can then position them on that magnet. The second style of mount is just a tripod screw. You basically screw the tripod screw to the wall and then you can screw the cameras in. I will be tempted to use the magnet mount because it's easier, but what I would say is just mount the cameras high enough up so people couldn't stroll up to them and rip them down. Now, inside of these actual cameras, they have just shy of a 13,000 milliamp hour battery in each unit, which they say on paper gives you around a year of use time. Now, we'll talk about how they achieve such a high number a little bit later and what the actual real world results are as far as battery life is concerned for these cameras. Charging them up, underneath, they've got a little flap which reveals a micro USB port, which you can go ahead and use to charge these cameras up. And these cameras are also IP66 water resistant, which if you don't know what that means, pretty much any dust and any sort of splash of water, you're going to be absolutely fine to put these things outside. On the bottom front of the camera, you've got a PIR motion sensor. Above that, we've got our color camera sensor. We've got 2 LEDs that have multi-functions, and we'll go over those later, as well as a speaker to act as a siren or to play messages. The base station itself is super small. It has a little light on the front of it. On top, we've got a single button to sync the cameras and also silence the alarm because this has a speaker in it. Also, we've got RJ45 for Ethernet connectivity, and then we've also got our 12-volt DC in, which is just a power brick here. Now, this actually has storage built into it by the form of a micro SD card slot in the bottom. You've got to provide your own micro SD card, and I've got a 128GB in here. That goes in there, and that will then store locally all of the recordings from these cameras. Now, EZVIZ also offer a cloud recording solution that you can pay for monthly, but I didn't use that for this review, so I'm not going to be talking about it. All my recordings are on this card. Now, before we move on with this video, I want to address what I'm going to call the elephant in the room, and that is that how do these cameras achieve a 365-day battery life when they're literally only this big? And that's because these cameras do not constantly record. If they constantly recorded round the clock 24/7 like a normal wired security system would, then their battery life would be literally non-existent. What these actually have is a huge PIR motion sensor here, which is actually really low energy. So this stays on all the time. Now, when this actually detects motion, it will then fire up the internal gubbins of the camera, turn on the lens, and then start recording. So for this to actually record, it needs to sense some movement, something moving. And a lot of security systems work like this. The Ring security system by Amazon works exactly the same way, and it just depends on what you want. Obviously, you get the benefits of great battery life, really easy setup with something like this and the Ring system, but if you're wanting 24/7 round-the-clock recording, then a system like this isn't for you. You'll need to run a cable most definitely to every camera. So Alex, how did the EZVIZ system do? What's the crack? Do you recommend it? And well, I've got to say, after my 2 weeks of testing, I had absolutely zero hiccups with this system. And obviously with it being wireless, that was one of my main gripes. I thought, oh, I'm gonna one day load on and try and view one of my cameras live and it's just not going to work. But that just didn't happen. These things were flawless.
So this on screen now is what you can expect visual quality wise, and obviously I'm about 3 meters away talking directly to this camera now, so that's what the audio sounds like as well.
Now, these cameras also have a really cool feature. They've got two-way audio like a smart doorbell would, so you can actually talk into your phone or your iPad or whatever device you're viewing the cameras on and have that speak out of the cameras. So you can have a two-way audio communication with this camera system, which is really, really cool. Now obviously you can see the footage from the daytime, it looks fine, I can read these number plates on these cars as they drive past. I'm, more than happy with the quality of these cameras in the day. What are they like at night time? Here's a few night vision shots with the IR enabled, and we'll come back to that in just a second. But as you can see, these nighttime shots, well, they're absolutely fine. I would be happy to use these. Now, I mentioned that those were IR, infrared night vision shots. Now, these cameras have IR in them, as I've just shown you, but they also have these two little color LEDs in them, like your phone light, for example, the light on your back of your phone. Now, that enables these cameras to do color night vision. I think it's a little bit of a gimmick because the actual IR, the infrared black and white night vision, looks much better, like you can make out the quality of somebody's face, for example. However, I do think that having these flash on at night time acts more as a deterrent because obviously IR, we can't detect it with our eyes. But as soon as this thing flashes on at night time, whoever's there is definitely going to know that they're being filmed. So as well as it being a bit of a gimmick, I also think it's a feature that some people would get use out of. Now, talking about using these things as a deterrent, you can do just that. So obviously, like I've just mentioned, they have these huge bright lights on the front of them and a speaker in the bottom. So you can go into the settings of this camera and you can make it flash when it sees somebody there or when it detects movement to really home in that they are being recorded by this camera here that is flashing at them in the face. If that still isn't enough for you though, obviously with this built-in speaker, like I've mentioned, you can do two-way audio communication, but you can also have this sound an alarm when it sees motion, which is super, super cool. Furthermore, you can actually record custom messages in the software for this camera to play out when it detects motion. So you could literally say into this little camera, hey, what are you doing? Go away. And then when this camera detects motion, it will say, what are you doing? Now, I know a lot of people that are looking at this wireless set of cameras will be thinking, I'm going to place my cameras in certain places around my house and I'm not sure if the Wi-Fi is going to reach. Now, these cameras are a little bit different. They don't use your home's Wi-Fi connection. That's why they include this bridge. Now, home Wi-Fi cameras are usually bad. I wouldn't recommend them because number one, well, they're unreliable, and number two, they can slow down your home's wireless network. But with a system like this, they include the bridge, right, which you connect into your router via RJ45 on the back, and then this base station creates its own wireless network that the cameras can connect to, which is separate from your home's Wi-Fi. So, let's see what the range of this little camera is actually like. Okay, I am now at my car, which is over the road from my house. Is this still working? Now, I do want to talk about the battery that I experienced from these devices. So these things have been set up in my life for about the past 2 weeks. And here's the thing, obviously I've been testing these, so I've been absolutely hammering them, going on using the live view all the time. In 2 weeks, both of these cameras dropped to 94%, which is a decrease of 6%. So if we do the math here, about 7.5 months out of these cameras, which is really, really good. And the playback as well, looking back on footage that these cameras have recorded, is super, super simple in the app. You basically just get a timeline of events, and whenever this camera is activated and turns on and starts recording, that is a little yellow marker on the timeline. You can go and you can screenshot them, you can download the entire footage that it has recorded. It's super, super simple, and like I've said, all the footage is stored, well, it was in my case, on this micro SD card. Alex, what do you think of the EZVIZ? Do we pick it up if we want a simple, inexpensive, wire-free solution to CCTV? And yeah, I wholeheartedly recommend these units. In fact, I think I'm going to give them to my grandmother when I finish this review, because she said she wanted a security system around her house, and this will literally take me 5 minutes to install. I'll put all the links down there below that like button, guys. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.